Hurricane Florence is quickly approaching the Carolinas, and of course, there are many questions about what is being done on a federal government level to prepare for this storm. There are some forecasts indicating that it could be a Category 4 storm, and so as a result, Trump did make a statement about the preparedness of the government. And his statements were stupid. So let's take a look.
We're as ready as anybody's ever been. Again, they haven't seen anything like what's coming at us in 25, 30 years, maybe ever. It's tremendously big and tremendously wet. Tremendous amounts of water. It could very well be very similar to Texas in the sense that it's tremendous amounts of water.
Yeah, that happened. Yes, hurricanes have tremendous amounts of water. That's kind of how they work. And yes, they are tremendously wet. Who looks at that and is not embarrassed? Remember when he said about Puerto Rico, because he has nothing intelligent to say, during the hurricane down there, he was like, Puerto Rico is an island surrounded by water, ocean water. Lots of ocean water. Yeah, that's usually how islands work. I can't believe people look at that and go, oh yeah, that guy's really smart.
What happened?
Tremendously wet.
What happened to the country and what happened to our standards? Like, what happened to our standards? I want the president to sound, at least sound smarter than anyone here.
Yeah, they made fun of Obama because they're like, oh, he pronounces Pakistan correctly when he says Pakistan. Oh, he went to Harvard Law, elitist. Can we please have one of those guys back? Okay, I mean.
He said the hurricane is tremendously wet. And
Come on.
Like he emphasized it. Like he emphasized the word wet the way that someone would emphasize a really, really smart point. Like, I am going to emphasize this because it's smart and I want everyone to know that I thought of this. No, well, that's what he did.
That's because
I'm like a smart person.
Now remember, these are amazing times because he really thinks that these are revelations. I remember when he bragged that he made up the word fake. That's in the dictionary. He's like, oh, remember when I started saying fake news and I started saying the word fake and nobody said that before. Then he came out and he was president and he couldn't get healthcare passed, thank God, his version of the bill. And then he's like, no one knew healthcare was complicated. No, we all knew healthcare was complicated. We all knew it was incredibly complicated in this crazy private health insurance system that we have.
Yeah, hold on though. Something I've been meaning to say about that, and it's been a long time. The reason why he didn't know that healthcare is complicated is because he's never had to think about it. He's never had to worry about what it's like to not have the resources to cover an ailment. He's never had to worry about it. He's never had to sit down with a representative from a private health insurance company and try to decipher what copays are, what premiums are, what is covered, what isn't covered, what's a PPO, what's an HMO. He doesn't care, he doesn't care. Homeboy can go bankrupt 6 different times and people in America still think he's a freaking genius.
Okay, so one more thing that we got more of his genius in a sec. So this is what a bad book report looks like. Now, if you didn't read the book, I've been there, brothers and sisters, okay? So now a person who's done his homework would say, man, I really care about South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. And Trump, all he cares about is his own voters because it affects him. And those are his voters. He should care a lot about the Carolinas, et cetera, right? But you would do a little bit of homework and you would say, hey, here's the number of FEMA responders we're gonna send down there. And you talk about the number of trucks and supplies, et cetera. But he doesn't read, doesn't care, never does his homework. So he's like, okay, I will fill up the time by telling you things you didn't know, like that hurricanes are tremendously wet.
He said tremendously big and tremendously wet.
Okay, that's like doing a book report on Jackie Robinson.
It's a hurricane, it's not porn. Like, just like focus, just focus for a second, okay? You're the president of the United States. There are people that are concerned about losing electricity, losing their lives if they're not prepared for this. He's a clown.
Of course I read the book on Jackie Robinson. He played baseball, he played it tremendously. He was tremendously Jackie and also tremendously Robinson.
Okay. So one of Trump's many failures was how he handled Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. Now, as we had reported a few weeks back, as nearly 3,000 people lost their lives. Those were the updated numbers that we had talked about. And Trump is still under the impression that he's done a fantastic job in the relief efforts and the response to Hurricane Maria. In fact, he wanted to emphasize that again in the same press conference.
What lesson do we take from what happened in Puerto Rico? How do we apply the lessons we took from Puerto Rico?
Well, I think Puerto Rico was incredibly successful. Puerto Rico was actually our toughest one of all because it's an island. I actually think it was one of the best jobs that's ever been done with respect to what this is all about. And the problem with Puerto Rico is their electric grid and their electric generating plant was dead before the storms ever hit. It was in very bad shape. It was in bankruptcy, had no money. The job that FEMA and law enforcement and everybody did working along with the governor in Puerto Rico, I think was tremendous. I think that Puerto Rico was an incredible unsung success. Texas, we have been given A-pluses for. Florida, we've been given A-pluses for. I think in a certain way, the best job we did was Puerto Rico, but nobody would understand that. We've gotten a lot of receptivity, a lot of thanks for the job we've done in Puerto Rico.
Wow.
More people died in that hurricane than died in Hurricane Katrina. And that was considered one of the worst moments of George W. Bush's presidency, rightfully so. But this guy, this monster, is so self-obsessed. The question was, what did you learn from Puerto Rico? The correct answer, even if you wanted to be political, would be to say, well, look, we learned some lessons from Puerto Rico, and what we want to do is have the responders in place first, and talk around just a couple of data points from Puerto Rico, which could help you in South Carolina. Instead, we got A-pluses in Florida, and when he said A+ in Texas, and then he went to Florida, and I thought, maybe he's gonna say an A-, like just a tiny bit of humility.
Yeah.
Nope, everything's an A+. And Puerto Rico, which was an unbelievable disaster, they bungled it. The worst part of it is that most of those people died after the storm. We could have done something to save them. But this knucklehead doesn't care about them. In fact, in the middle of that answer, he blamed them. Well, they were already bankrupt and they had no money down there. And so, instead of, hey, man, I really wish we could have helped them more. I wish we could have done this or that. No, it was an unsung success. A lot of people are giving us credit for it. Who's giving you credit outside of Lou Dobbs and Sean Hannity, you monster? Who brags about over 2,900 people dead on his watch? He has no conscience. He has no empathy whatsoever. That is what defines a sociopath. And sometimes it's funny, he said it again. Well, Puerto Rico was the worst because it was an island. And then other times it's just tragic. So people living in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia now, I hope that other people in the administration are competent, because you are not going to get any kind of competence out of your president. God help you as that storm is bearing down on you. Hopefully, as Bob Woodward reported and the guy who wrote the op-ed, that there are people inside the administration not listening to Donald Trump now and actually getting prepared and maybe help you save your lives. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.